And this was one of the great actors, or great painters of that time. Hokusai, for instance, would that be illegitimate? Marion collects Japanese prints. And so let's say that this very wealthy man came to him and asked him for a painting of a store. And the artist said, well, it would take time. And so the millionaire went away and came back a month later and asked if he was ready. And the man said, no, I'm not. I'm not quite ready yet. It took about 3 months. And finally, the man came in and he said, very well. He said, I'm ready. So the millionaire said, where is it? He took one of those rolls of paper, pulled it down over his easel, laid it down like that, got out that little block they used, put some of the ink on it, added water, scrubbed it down, and then he took a brush, dipped it in the water, and then dipped it in here, like that, and made a leaf. And he darkened it a little bit, made another leaf. And then he made, with another brush, he made the segments of the bamboo. And then underneath the curve of that, in about 5 strokes, he drew a story. And then he said, there you are. And the millionaire was outraged. He said, how dare you charge me 10,000 yen or $10,000 for that? He said, it only took you maybe 25 seconds to do that. And the artist went over to one of those lacquer cabinets as big as that, and he pointed it, and out came 10,000 drawings of stories. Right? That's what I mean by 100,000 bad drawing. And so, to me, that's a profound, very profound story, and the meaning of it is, so it's like, it's that same millionaire would not object to the man taking out his appendix in 15 seconds, right? He would say, oh, it's going to take 2 hours, goddamn, I won't get my money's worth. But the precision and the working of something long enough. This teacher that Marion had, was it Rick Bruin? Rick Olive Bruin, certainly one of the most astounding artists of the human figure. He used to take a pad this thick of onion paper and throw all of it over, and then he'd make a drawing on the bottom of it, and on the bottom page. Then he'd pull another one over and draw over that one. And he'd consider a drawing could possibly be complete until he'd drawn over the whole pad. Sometimes he said it would happen maybe the 10th one sometime, but very often it would get to the top one, drawing over and over and over again until he got it right. So I don't have to tell you people, my God, I can't believe what you do. And I can't tell you how impressed, dearly impressed I am. It's wonderful, wonderful. And I have nothing to offer you except a lot of jabber. But it's rich jabber. I'm old enough, you have to be impressed by me. I have one advantage over you. I know what it's like to be young and old, you don't. Well, look, can I field a question? Any questions? You better have some questions.
I've got so many questions. Start with one that's probably obvious. The longevity of the Warner films, do you think partly that's due to the units being so small? So the units of people working on them.
Oh, why do Warner films last? Is that what you were asking about? Why did we do the kind of quality that allowed them to last? Well, there were several elements. One, probably the most, I should have mentioned this before, probably the most vital one, and one that you might want to employ here, is that we had what we call the yes session, big yes actually. To give you an example, say we're doing...
Start with one that's obvious. The longevity of the Warner films, do you think partly that's due to the units being so small? So the units of people working on them.
Oh, why do Warner films last? Is that what you were asking about? Why did we get the kind of quality that allowed them to last? Well, there were several elements. One, probably the most, I should have mentioned this before, probably the most vital one, and one that you might want to employ here, is that we had what we call the yes session, big yes actually. To give you an example, say we're doing, Mike and I think it would be fun to take Bugs Bunny into Scotland, okay, which we did. And so we would come up with we'd have bugs burrowing through the ground, Rabbits don't do that, but that's one of the things we decided that Bugs Bunny his mother must have been frightened by a mole or something. Anyway, he can go under the ground and he appears in these strange places. He pops up in Scotland, which we established by a long shot. We even put Scotland on there so they'll be able to see it. And then he pops up and then he says, I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque, I don't know where I am. And then he looks up and you hear the music of the bagpipes. And he looks over and here's this little red-headed Scotsman playing the bagpipes with a skirt on. Well, Bugs immediately assumes, as he Bugs will, and he said, look at that horrible monster attacking that poor old lady. So he runs over and gets it, and beats it to death, He says, there you are, man. He says, it won't bother you anymore. That's really all we had. It was a good gag and would lead to others. And of course, we'd already developed an enmity at that point. Bugs has to have an adversary. So at that point, or maybe we wouldn't have anything even that close to a gag, we'd call in the other writers and directors into this, we call the period of the yes. The longest it could go would be 2 hours. But during that time, no negatives were allowed of any kind. If you couldn't say something positive, supportive of the idea, then you shut it. If you even I don't like it, come on, that's a negative, out you go. And so, although as you all are aware, that some people who make a living out of saying no. And that's all they are, they're negatives, and they get to be heads of networks. All I can say is no. And they can say that, that's creed, saying no. Well, I believe that how a baby ever sustains life after the first no is beyond my understanding. Baby happy. 6 months, 8 months, all this time pooping around, and all of a sudden you knock over a waste paper basket. No. God, I think you died right then. Oh, word. So during that time, everybody would pour ideas into this basic idea. And I'll answer the first question. What if it isn't a good idea? I can think about that. But so they would pour ideas, and when I first started, there was a tendency, I know there was in my part, if it was something with a tweeting semester or something, for instance, picture, I think, I got a good idea, I'm not going to tell them, I'll say for myself. But you realized, of course, that if you did that, that would mean that he would start mothering his too. And everybody had to be free. You had to pour on anything that you could think of, because he started. He gave you the diving board. It's up to you to perform and help make the better picture of it. And of course, if you supplied him with a good gag, and it showed up in the film, everybody laughed at it, your immediate feeling was to go throw up. But nevertheless, you had to do it. So we're all human beings. I mean, as close to human beings as animators can become. Like you guys. And I know that you call the general Homo sapiens area, but if you're in this field, the term SAP must always be recognized. Homo sapiens. What am I doing here? Now, the result of this was that when all the material was put on, you were under no obligation to use any of it. And if the idea, say, went 45 minutes and you weren't getting anything, you would realize that the idea was not generating the kind of thing that you wanted. You would say, well, we had a way of getting out of that too, which is very helpful. You have to save face. You don't want to say, geez, I came up with a shitty idea. Oh, I didn't do that. So we had a long pole on the side there, and at that point, when we weren't getting any help, I modded Mike and Mike to get the pole, and then we reenact the raising of the flag on Iwo Jima.